Lunatics on TikTok are trying to go viral by intentionally exposing their babies to in utero Tylenol, aka paracetamol, aka APAP, aka acetaminophen, to ostensibly speedrun neurodivergence. How do we get here? Well, Trump and RFK Jr. and Dr. Octopus, for some reason, gave a press conference where they announced a possible correlation between taking Tylenol while preggers and having a baby with Asperger's or just general autism and ADHD.
I said, well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen.
This is literally just a possible correlation, and the only action taken is literally just to add a statement onto the pre-existing label on the bottles. Tylenol is, of course, over the counter, so it's not like Trump and RFK Jr. can exactly stop you from getting riggedy wrecked by boofing Tylenol till your little heart's content. But apparently the mere mention of a correlation from Trump was so infuriating to the usual suspects, aka unhinged lefties on TikTok and Blue Sky, that they have chosen to possibly harm their baby if it means sticking it to the man.
28 weeks pregnant. You know what I'm gonna take? Some Tylenol, acetaminophen. It's gonna work like a charm, and my baby won't have autism.
Now, real talk, I know Trump derangement syndrome can kind of be a cope that the right says when the left gets mad at Trump, but this surely, more than anything else, is diagnosable TDS. The dumbest part of this whole trend is that this correlation has been brewing for years. Here's a study from 2019, funded by the NIH. Here's another one from 2023. There was research and statements made from the FDA during the Biden administration about possible risks from Tylenol after a certain dose in pregnancy. Do you remember in response to that when conservative tradwives started popping Tylenol while pregnant to own the left? Me neither. But now that the Trump-run FDA is just echoing what has already been said in previous administrations, apparently this is now mega lies. But to be clear, I'm not saying that I know for sure or that anyone knows for sure if Tylenol can cause these issues. I'm saying this isn't new with Trump, and it's certainly something worth looking into based on multiple correlational studies, which of course isn't causation. Speaking of, there's a correlation between being big-brained and hitting that like and subscribe button on a channel, and who knows, it could be causative too, I'm just saying. But anyway, going forward, of course, we have to isolate factors, look for a third cause, etc. See if we can overcome the Tylenol hypothesis, if you will, and you must. But why are these acetaminophenes intentionally taking Tylenol out of what seems to be spite for the current administration? That's a mental illness, surely. The only theory that makes at least a bit of sense to me is that these women believe Trump and think that Tylenol does cause autism, and they want their kids to be neurodivergent enough so that they vote left, so that they're intentionally trying to make their baby's IQ either low enough or high enough to the point that you can't clearly see reality in any good way, and so you end up voting for AOC in 2042 or whatever the fuck. And look, this is a controversial statement, but I'm going to quote a biological woman who has children who told me personally, if your pain is of the type that it can be resolved with Tylenol, is your pain really that bad? Now, again, that's not me saying that. Personally, I've never been a woman, also never been pregnant. But I will say Tylenol is notoriously a analgesic, aka a bad painkiller, having like 1/360th the strength of a real painkiller. I mean, look at this equianalgesia chart, which shows the comparative doses you'd need to get the pain relief benefits of a mere 10 milligram oral morphine pill. You'd have to take 3.6 grams of Tylenol to get the benefits of 10 milligrams of oral morphine, and daily doses of like 6 grams of Tylenol or higher can cause like permanent hepatotoxicity, aka acute irreversible liver damage. Of course, Tylenol is a great placebo, and it's good at reducing fevers, which is why the FDA isn't even saying to never take it. They're just saying to try to limit it.
For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary. That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever.
Which is what they said before, by the way. The irony is that opioids themselves are sometimes prescribed in small quantities to pregnant women, with the research and possible birth defects being mixed, but no one is out there owning the right by popping Vicodin while pregnant. How about this? How about we don't try to own anybody by taking medication that might harm our unborn child? How about that for a radical fucking idea? Fuck me. But I suppose if you're the type of retard that's going to take meds while visibly pregnant for the sole purpose of going viral on TikTok and sticking it to the Trump administration, you're probably also the type of person to think that that baby kicking around inside you is just a clump of cells. Which, I mean, it is, and so am I. And I hate to break it to you, dear viewer, but so are you. Don't mean to like blow your mind or anything, but technically every living creature is just like a collection of cells, you know, biology. So I suppose my point is that there's a strong correlation, which I've conceded is not causation, between the people in these videos and the people who support third trimester abortion. So perhaps this isn't as shocking of a trend as it initially seems. I mean, if you think your baby has no ontological and moral value until it's located temporally outside of your body, then maybe internet points are worth risking your baby's health. Kind of scary how the more you think about it, the more it makes a weird amount of sense. But if you're a paracetamol mole person and you're going to be popping Tylenol like they're Skittles, don't come cryolanoling to me when your baby ends up tasting the neurodivergent rainbow because you wanted to own the right. Now, of course, people dragged up this old tweet from Tylenol telling people that they don't recommend taking Tylenol during pregnancy. Now, the company who owns Tylenol, Kenvue, has said that this is out of context. And sure, it's probably just like the company being safe and not opening themselves up to liabilities by like recommending pregnant people take their medication. But that's kind of the point, right? The obvious thing to do here is what the FDA said to do before. If you're pregnant, try to take as little Tylenol as possible. I mean, why not play it safe? Again, you can still go and buy Tylenol. I don't know if these people in the video realize that. It's not being like banned or like you're not allowed to take it if you're pregnant. You can still take the Tylenol. But why not play it safe and try to only take it when you absolutely need it and in the lowest dose possible? Which honestly is probably good advice for like almost any drug taken during pregnancy. But look, if you're in a lot of pain and Tylenol helps, then sure, go for it. If you have a bad fever, sure, take Tylenol, okay? All I'm saying is don't pop that shit like candy when you're pregnant because that's retarded. And if retardation is hereditary, then maybe your baby's already going to be retarded, so it doesn't matter anyway. Fun fact, though, is that Tylenol is already one of the most dangerous over-the-counter drugs when it comes to ODing. The bottle recommends that if you're an adult, you can take up to 4,000 milligrams a day, and liver damage can happen at around 6,000 milligrams, with literal death happening around 10,000 milligrams. UCI Health says it best. Overshooting 4 grams or 4,000 milligrams isn't hard. One Tylenol extra strength pill contains 500 milligrams of acetaminophen. If an individual takes 2 pills up to 4 times a day, that's 4,000 milligrams. Add a cold or cough medicine that includes acetaminophen, and you can easily exceed the recommended daily limit. And it also points out that there's about 1,600 cases of acute liver failure that happen every year from acetaminophen overdoses, as well as 500 people dying from overdosing on a drug. In fact, it's the top reason that people call poison control centers in America. And note that this is basically unheard of when it comes to over-the-counter medicine. The ratio between what the Tylenol bottle says you can take and the amount that can possibly kill you is like 2 to 1. In other words, doubling the dose that the bottle tells you that you can take is likely to be fatal, or at least likely to cause permanent damage to your body. Now compare that with aspirin, where the bottle tells you you can take up to 3,900 milligrams and a death dose is like 39,000 milligrams. That's a 10 to 1 ratio. So Tylenol, despite it being in a ton of medications and despite it being one of the most commonly used over-the-counter medications, is literally low-key nothing to fuck with. So even I limit my Tylenol usage, and I'm not even pregnant. What do you think? Do you think that Trump is insane for promoting the Tylenol autism possible correlation? Do you at least agree it's insane to film yourself as a pregnant woman popping Tylenol in order to score fake internet points? Let me know in the comments below. Shout out to our channel members, Kyle and Michael, and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, etc., etc. And again, don't take medications as part of a viral trend, pregnant or otherwise. Is that a controversial statement? I really don't think so. See you in the next video.